Hey, everybody, welcome to Office Hours, where we assemble every day to answer your questions about media and tech. Alexander Knight in Port Coquitlam, British Columbia, is our reader today. Alexander, what's our first question?
First question is coming in from Cindy Drozda in Erie, Colorado. Zoom business accounts no longer have a minimum of 10 licensees. Are there advantages to having multiple licenses versus everyone having a solo account?
Alexander Knight's going to start us off here this morning. Alexander?
There are definitely advantages. Now, I pay for an extra license on my Zoom business account, and the reason for that is because it can get expensive pretty fast. But the reason why would be if you want to assign certain permissions to that person. So, for example, having the capability to automatically assign a particular user account as a backup host and give them permissions. That way, when they come into the meeting, they don't have to, wait there and sit there to be admitted into a meeting. So there are advantages to that as well. And there are other advantages to having separate user accounts as well, so that you don't have to share login credentials between people. It's not really a good idea to be sharing your login credentials with other people. So I do not recommend it, but I fully admit it. It can get very expensive pretty quickly when you're spending $25-$30 a month extra per individual license.
Hopefully that gave you some... Oh, Courtney wanted to get in on this one. Courtney?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Alexander, because I don't know anything about, because I don't have a business account, if they're still requiring a multi-user business account to do 1080p, or do they give that to everyone now?
They have, I think they've been slowly, they've been slowly rolling it out now, and it started last year. So I actually have I started with a one-user account license as soon as I saw that on their webpage when they got rid of that. So you can sign up now, get a 1080p account with just a single license if you want for $25 a month or whatever they charge now for that.
Jason wants to get in on this. Jason?
Just wanted to plus one that. I mean, it's been quite a while. I've 4 years, maybe 5 years since I've been able to have a 1080p account purely by asking for it. So that has been the case for quite a while. You have to prove that you have the equipment capable of supporting it. But it's been a thing for quite a while.
Cool. Next question.
This one's from Caleb Groom in Pinehurst, North Carolina. vMix 29 was released today. Any new features that the panel is excited about?
Jason, what do you think?
Well, Caleb, they did a really great website that shows exactly what the new features are. 8 overlays and stingers. You can now loop outputs. You've got open media transport support, replay features, different triggers, and a really cool, that's right, banana for scale.
It looks like a female banana. So it's a combo. Anyway, let's sneak off to our next question.
Craig Kadoki in Toronto, Canada. Recently, I looked at GarageBand on the iPad, and it sees all 48 channels from my interface. Is it the same channel count on the iPhone, and what are you doing with that capability?
I'm turning it right back around to Alexander. Alexander, what are you doing?
Yeah, so iOS has decent audio support now. I mean, you can plug a class-compliant interface in it. Yes, it will see multi-channel interfaces. The issue that I always run up against is the scenarios. In what scenario would I actually want to work on it? And the reason why, it's not that it can't. The reason why is I have a desktop computer and I have a laptop, and I like working with a mouse and keyboard. And yes, I know you can add keyboards and mice now to iOS devices, but it comes down to the digital audio workstation of choice that you want to work with, and how clunky is it to edit. And I just find the editing capabilities on an iPad and an iPhone, especially on an iPhone, on a tiny device, I don't know how that you could do that without driving yourself crazy. So if you need the capability to record multi-channel audio, you can. When it comes down to post-production, it's just too slow. It's way too slow for me.
Courtney?
And can you add a USB-C based control surface to it? So the main problem with something as small as a phone and controlling that many audio channels is finger size and touch target size. When it gets that small, can you do the plug-in USB control surfaces where you got multiple faders and rotary knobs interface with GarageBand if you're using that version? and give you access to the 48 channels? That's my question. Glomming onto Craig's. Sorry, Craig.
So I'm sorry. I think he was asking you, Alexander. Do you have a?
Do you have any knowledge using
I don't know that you can. I honestly, I have never tested any control surfaces, so I don't know.
Yeah.
That stuff is very. There's very limited support for that. And GarageBand's not a great a great digital audio workstation if you want to get anything serious done. Anyways, it's fine for beginners just starting out, and I think they have Logic Pro now, which is a paid subscription. So I haven't actually had a chance to test that, but external peripheral support I think is still fairly limited.
You know, I think it's a matter in part on what you train yourself into doing. I'll never forget one of the more humiliating but instructive moments in my life. My son was working on a project, and so he asked me if I could come out and kind of help with all the kids. And they were in an abandoned warehouse kind of thing, really funky thing, but it looked beautiful for what they were trying to do, which was fire swinging kind of videos. And so at one point I had said something, and one of the young ladies there said, well, could I get your name and address and something? I said, well, so let me get yours. Anyway, the point of this is that I started typing something in, and she looked at me with more contempt than I have witnessed in a long time and said, do you mind? And I handed her my phone, and she managed to type in 3 paragraphs with 2 thumbs in about 4 seconds. And I just realized I was utterly out of my depth in terms of the interface that she was conditioned to use properly. The reason I'm bringing this up is that with those small fiddly buttons and things like that, doing editing on a phone, I agree 100% with Alexander's feeling. I can't edit on a touch interface. I'm just not conditioned to it. But that previous story reminds me that others may be perfectly comfortable. And I actually know a couple of people who now do all of their editing on iOS devices, and they've never gone back to using keyboards or touchscreens, yes, obviously, but keyboards or anything else. So I just think it's you do you. If you've conditioned yourself to be really efficient at using some non-standard thing, I can't say that you shouldn't do that. I remember being in a professional editing circumstance where 2 of the editors in the group that I was working with absolutely needed trackballs. They could not edit without their normal desktop situation, so they had to make those systems work in conjunction with things that were bolted onto their keyboards because that's what they were used to. So for what that's worth, next question.
Zach Stelsmith in Chautauqua, New York. Since Mimolive has Zoom ISO capabilities, can I send the participants' audio out via Loopback to my X32 over Dante to mix their audio and then send it back to Mimolive for broadcast?
Alexander, what do you think?
I don't know why you'd want to put Loopback in the chain for any reason, but yes, you can send audio directly out. It's just a matter of creating an auxiliary output from Mimolive. Select your audio interface and then select the channel that you want to send. In fact, I do this for my own show over Dante into my DM3 consoles, and I'll just show you a screenshot here quickly. So you will see here in the screenshot, it's high resolution, so I'm going to have to do some scrolling here. So I apologize. I'll just scroll over there. And if you look in your output destinations here on mine, I've got a stereo playback channel for music and sound effects that goes out over Dante. And then all of these are just mono channels going out over Dante for each participant that is in my Zoom meeting. And that goes into my DM3 console for processing. Then I mix that on the DM3 console, and then it goes through various gain stages, and then it comes back as a stereo channel. So if I go to my audio sources on the left-hand side, I have a stereo channel and I've labeled Mimo processed stereo audio, left and right, and then that gets brought in. And then this processed stereo channel is what goes out to program, which is what the audience hears.
Thank you for that. I think that's going to help people understand possibilities here. Next question.
This one is coming from Caleb Groom in Pinehurst, North Carolina. I've noticed several panel members have the ability to draw on screen for a vMix+ZoomISO show with remote guests. Is there a recommended telestrator strategy to let the remote guests draw?
Yeah, we've talked about that a good little bit here. And in fact, the person who started this, Alex Lindsay, is a huge proponent of that. And that's probably why most of us do it, because Alex does it regularly on the show. Courtney, you want to address the hows and whys?
Yeah, I'm not that familiar with the code on vMix, but I would imagine that allowing a remote guest to draw, he would have to have a telestrator locally. He or she would have to have a telestrator locally on their computer and do the compositing before they send their signal up to Zoom. Because I would think that the latency for the eye-hand coordination of drawing on the remote desktop or the remote vMix instance might be a little difficult if there's any kind of latency at all, like 40 milliseconds or more. It may be a little tough to draw, even if they've built that feature in. But I think a lot of people here have systems with Atems or vMixes where they have a local telestrator program that can composite, that can generate directly connects to their mouse so that there's no latency locally, and then can draw on the screen, and that image could be sent as a separate video feed to ZoomISO and composited on the other end. That might be the way to do it.
Yeah, through the course of doing this a lot on the show here, a lot of us have the system that I have in front of me, which is an iPad over on the side. And if I'm in Keynote or something like that, and I do something on top of black or a keyable color, then I can take that into my Atem Mini. I can key out the background and use the drawing tools in Keynote or something similar to send that out live. But Courtney brings up a really good point. If you don't have a very low latency system, it's a little strange to be drawing and having what you're drawing kind of lagging behind you. And the other thing is that no matter what you use to create this system, you're going to have to get the live feed that's coming to you about the show behind the telestrator so that it can feed that, and then that has to go back out, and you have to do all that without the latency that might otherwise accompany that loop. So it can be a little tricky. Alex, for a long time, has been working on an app that'll do some of this, but I don't know the state of it at this point. But it's obviously something a lot of people want to do, and those of us on the show, all the people on the show who telestrate, have spent some time making sure that they've got a system that works to their satisfaction and doesn't add that extra latency. Next question.
Zach Stallsmith in Chautauqua, New York. Could we get a demonstration on how to create a LUT, lookup table? I'll want to use the DaVinci Reslve to do this, but don't have much experience with this.
Jason Bache raised his hand. Jason, do you want to dive
Sure.
in?
I'm going to give you an abstract, and I'm going to give you a video that'll do a much better, more thorough job than we have time to permit. Abstractly, what you need to do is capture with the camera that you need at full quality one of any number of color or chip charts, like this one. The cheapest one, I believe, is the Color Checker Passport, $150. The Spider Checker 24 should also have it. And really what you're after is each chip, needs to be something that DaVinci can properly line up on. After you've captured that at full fidelity, which you can do through a video capture card or just, recording a raw format directly into your camera and then inputting it and then playing it back through DaVinci, you get a freeze frame, and then you will go into the I'm not even sure what to call it, but basically the how to make a LUT table, how to make a LUT screen. That's what I call it. It's not what it's called, but this is what it looks like. And you will go through, you will find the chip chart part. Where is it? Looking for it. I don't see it on there. Anyway, you'll go through the chip chart. It will find, if it can find, each chip that it needs to correctly calibrate. And then there's a button that says Export LUT, and away you go. You can then load that directly onto a camera or drop it into a workflow.
Yeah, this reminds me a little about the old bars and tone thing that we used to use for color balancing cameras. These colors are specifically designed to read properly on something like a waveform monitor. Vectorscope actually is what we used to use. And that's why those chip charts are important. It gives you not just the primaries, but the secondaries and everything, and you can make sure that not only the color information, but the luminance information and everything else is reflected accurately. So that is the quickest and easiest way to do it. Some people have really good eyes, and they can figure out how to adjust LUTs because they just have a ton of experience in it. But chip charts are generally the quickest and easiest way to get as close to accurate information through the system as you can. Next question.
This question comes in from Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas. I never knew there was an award show for colorists till I saw this last night. What do you make of these selections?
And he's got a link to what are called the Filmlight Color Awards. I don't think I had heard about that either. Courtney, what do you know about them?
Absolutely nothing, but I do know, I did take a look at this particular, I was feeling a little invisible here. Let me try that again. Okay, I did take a look at this. I wouldn't be surprised. This is a Filmlight. There are organizations that give out awards every year that are for the smaller groups of people. You don't almost ever see the colorist even listed in the credits on a film usually. Because it's kind of a collaborative effort between the colorist a lot of times and the director, who may sit in the timing suite and look at the grading and give their input on the grading. So it's kind of a collaboration. If you look down here at the ones that were awarded for a theatrical feature, I don't know if you recognize any of those names because we almost never see them listed in credits. But, for example, the Society of Operating Cameramen have an award show every year, and the CAS, Cinema Audio Society, which is a subset of the Production Sound Mixers Association, and the ASC Awards every year. So I wouldn't be surprised that they come up with these awards for music video, spotlight, emerging talent, all these different categories, strictly for colorists who are grading all this footage and almost never getting screen credit for it. It's a great place for those people to gather together and celebrate each other's work and look at each other's work critically every year. So here for presenting that award, but yet another awards show you might have to attend.
Alexander Knight.
Yeah, so I haven't seen all the movies on this list, but I just want to point out a couple things. The Brutalist is still on my list, but I saw Sinners in IMAX, and I thought it was a fantastic movie overall, had a fantastic look, and I've since seen it on 4K UHD disc as well with Dolby Vision, and it is really a stunning looking movie. And I have to say, though, for me, if I was on the team, I would probably vote for Nosferatu, because I saw this in laser projection, and Nosferatu is just it's just a stunning looking movie. You have to see it. So that one for me really deserves that award.
Yeah, I'm going to add a note of not caution, because I'm not trying to diss anything, but just be careful. There are some awards that have gained a reputation over the course of the years that are kind of widely distributed. They're not major awards. Most of the major awards are run quite properly. In other words, the people judging the awards are professionals and they know what to look for. And when you win one of those, it really is your peers saying it's good. We have seen some lower level awards over the years where it's one of those things where, oh, surprising, the sending in your reel must be accompanied with a $150 fee. Now, I'm not against fees, because it is, you get 1,000 awards in there and people are going to take a lot of time to go through them. But I have seen some awards over the course of my career where you just go, this is less a really peer-rated reward and more a way for somebody to run a little income-generating stream. So all I'm saying about this is talk to people in the industry, talk to your peers, go online, and do some questioning about, is this particular award truly meaningful? Or is it something that, 75% of the people paying their $150 to do the awards will get some kind of an award out of it to encourage them to, again, resubmit the next year and pay another $150 or whatever? I've noticed those kinds of things happening in the past. So be careful. Don't be overly worried. And a lot of them, again, as I say, are very legitimate and really do applaud expertise when it's demonstrated. And the few scofflaws in the business shouldn't dissuade you from trying to do your absolute best work all the time. And if you can submit it and it wins something, good for you. Next question.
This one is from Nick Batt, and he asks, working with Zoom and VMIX for camera and screen share session, the FPS of the screen share is low. Are there any tricks to improving this without decreasing resolution below 1080 or lowest at 720?
Alexander Knight, dive in.
For one thing, the resolution of the content that they are sharing has to be 1080. So you should maybe check with them. But also there are some recommended settings. There's a Zoom article I will probably point you in the direction of, because it does mention here that it gives you some direction here as to when you're starting a screen share, what you should select. So you want to make sure, start with content that is actually 1080p, and then also go to options and select optimize for video sharing. And it also warns you too, if that the content is a higher resolution than 1080p, it is just going to get downscaled. So you should be getting 1080p on a screen share, unless they haven't set something correctly, or perhaps maybe that optimized video sharing option hasn't been turned on.
Jason Bache?
I got 3 syllables for you. E-THER-NET. Everything needs to be Etherneted down. Ethernet it down, Ethernet absolutely everything. Turn off all your Wi-Fi. No, seriously, turn off all your Wi-Fi. Did I mention that Wi-Fi needs to be completely off and not just disconnected? And then after that, consider hardware.
That was excellent as an answer. Next question.
Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas asks, Sony just came out with this marvel of a lens, 100mm f2.8 macro G Master with off-the-charts bokeh. What would you find for? What use would you find for it?
It's off the charts. Well, there you go. Next, let Jason Bache dive in.
All right, let me start with this. We said this is the pre-show. I'm unaware of a way to chart a bokeh. I'm sure that someone somewhere has come up with some way to do it, but suffice it to say, superlatives aside, the 100mm 2.8, in fact, is one of my very favorite lenses of all time. I don't have this one from Sony, but the Prime from Canon is truly one of my all-time favorites, and it is a perfect, in my opinion, mix of the right level of zoom, the right kind of 2x fixed 50, so you can get close but not too close, but you can zoom in but not too far in. And if you're on a full frame camera, you just get an absolutely beautiful, nearly distortionless, just configuration and projection of the lens's view onto the frame. That said, what would we find it for? I think it would be hard to take off the camera if you're used to shooting primes.
Courtney?
Is this a zoom? Maybe I got it wrong. I thought it was 100mm fixed focus, but it's a macro lens. So once you put it into macro mode, it has a very narrow depth of field and it has a very limited range of focus once you put it into macro mode. So it's great for shooting stills of tiny little things, because it's 1.4 magnification, I think 1.4, 1.2 magnification ratio. So it will actually, the image on the sensor will be 1.5 or 1.25 times the size of the actual object that you're photographing. So for doing macro photography, it's interesting. I found this other feature of it interesting because it also has angle shift and depth control, like a pitch, multi-pitch.
Like a tilt shift?
Tilt shift lens.
Yeah, that's
it's limited quite a bit, but you can control the pitch and yaw so that you can adjust the dynamics. Sorry about the competing bookmark information.
Graphics, yeah.
Zoom,
Thank you. And for those who haven't used tilt shifts, they're used a lot in architecture, because if you're looking up at a building or something like that, your parallax goes all to heck in a handbasket. So those tilt shifts help with that. I
wouldn't use it for, for streaming like this, because a 100mm lens, it would have to be pretty far away from you if you're going to be on camera in a shot like you see here. It would have great bokeh, but And it does have a good, supposedly very fast autofocus on it. But I don't think you have that in the macro mode. On the macro mode, you have to be in manual focus mode because it says only in stills only and macro shooting, handheld macro shooting only. So it has those limitations, but if you're doing a lot of portraiture, let's say still portraiture, stuff like that where you want to have that sweet bokeh, it does, with that f-stop, it will limit your depth of field to just a plane of where the eyes are, but the tip of the nose will be out of focus.
Next question.
Danny Grizzle in Longview, Texas asks, for audio work in Final Cut Pro, is anyone round-tripping into Logic? What is the workflow?
I don't know anybody who's doing it, and I'll tell you why. All of the audio handling tools inside Final Cut is the exact same code as you find in Logic. Now, that doesn't mean that audio practitioners can do everything they want to do inside Final Cut. The word there that is the most important is subset. Logic is a full-blown digital audio workstation, primarily designed for people who want to do complex music production, create pop music and things like that. Famously, Billie Eilish and her brother did all of their first multi-track composites and things like that in Logic. But the code for audio in Final Cut, while limited, is exactly the same quality as Logic, which is why when I realized that early in my career, I started doing all my radio voiceover work and everything else in Final Cut because there was no reason for me to go out to another program when I was using the exact same code and exact same tools inside a program I was working with every single day. And I'm still doing that to this day. The audiobook work I'm doing inside Final Cut because I get not only that really clear, clean, pristine audio thing, but I get all those weird tools that are hugely important for me in video, like keyword range tagging and search and sort and all sorts of extra functions inside an audio workstation, which is something I had never run across before. But I'm sure somebody's doing that kind of round tripping. I mean, if you're working on a music video and you want to take the band's shoot and record them in multi-track and then come in and really do a pristine, fully featured audio mix in Logic, I can see lots of people who might want to do that. I just don't work in that area, so I don't know them. But yeah, you can do it, Danny. Next question.
This one is from Jeff Veely in Henderson, Texas. Without getting into politics, my company is experiencing travel delays on over half of the trips in our national tour this fall. What challenges are others seeing in the USA?
Jason Bache?
I mean, I feel like the challenges are very well documented, and I don't think that there's anything politic at all about just simply stating the fact that it's difficult to work and not get paid, and TSA is working and not getting paid, and I believe air traffic control is working and not getting paid, and that is that's not the best way to do things. Plus, the air traffic control has had a years-long staffing problem, and this doesn't look good for recruiting. We'll put it that way. So, yeah, I think that this is going to continue. I just booked some travel to San Francisco. And oh boy, is it clear to me that airlines are padding the price of their tickets in advance, knowing fully that they're going to have to delay flights. I don't know that for a fact, but I've bought enough tickets, once a month, every month, to know that this is absolutely happening.
Courtney Gooden?
Yeah, a good thing to check is look for, the situation we're in right now is there's lots of delays in the United States and internationally, actually, because, hey, we connect with the world somewhere. But check for, in other times where we're not in a government shutdown, you want to check for any type of union disagreements or strikes that are in it, either TSA or flight controllers or baggage handlers or the flight attendants. Any of those different unions can be on strike and be holding up, doing a sick out or something that may affect scheduling besides weather. The other thing to look at is weather. And there are sites where you can check on performance, just overall performance over the year on leaving on time for particular airlines or even particular airports. How many flights are delayed and into and out of this airport versus that airport. So there are places that gather all that data and consolidate it, so you can kind of look at that and kind of play the field and figure out, hey, is my flight going to be delayed because we're going to this specific airport and 60% of the flights coming into that airport are delayed or canceled? You can look at those statistics, and these days with AI, you can probably ask ChatGPT or any of the other Gemini or any of the other capable AIs that are out there that handle real-time information and real-time data to build you a chart of this source and this destination and what are the percentages of delays into and out of those airports. So you can gather that data and have AI create a comparative chart between different airports, different airlines, et cetera.
Jason, you wanted to come back in?
Yeah. One more thing, Jeff. I have to bring this up because it does make sense. If you are really doing a nationwide tour, consider something that you may not have, at least prior to all these delays. Recognize that this is what tour buses were designed for. Really, look into this. Get a spreadsheet and recognize, although it may take more time, it is considerably easier to get people from A to B to C to D to E if you have just a chartered motor coach. Plus, you also have no transportation to and from the venue, to and from the hotel. The whole thing is handled by a motor coach. So look into it and see if it makes dollars and cents sense.
Interesting. I hadn't considered that, but it's something worth looking into, I'm sure. Hey, don't forget, we're always taking your questions. That's what we're here for. So you can not only ask questions, but chat about them and do that in our Mukana interface. If you haven't gone down that path and gotten into it, I would highly suggest that you do. There's an incredible community there. You can get there by going to officehours.global/join. And once you do that, and once you kind of follow the breadcrumbs and get into the system, you can not only watch the show, but participate more closely into it. There's an incredible community of people who gather live every day. And there's a lot more information even than you get from the show in that discussion on the outside through Mukana. So again, that's officehours.global/join. Next question.
Tony Mobley in Noonan, Georgia asks how to create a green room for House of Worship guests in Zoom meeting.
Alexander Knight, what say you?
Yeah, so you can absolutely do that. I'll just show you my account here. So I'm just going to go into the meetings tab here. So I've got a recurring meeting, so I'm going to just click edit and edit the entire series here. So you do this inside the Zoom meeting settings, and this is done in the Zoom admin backend. If you scroll down all the way to the bottom there, you're going to see options. You just click show to expand the options, and then you're going to see this checkbox here. So breakout room pre-assign. Now you can go in here and you can edit the breakout rooms and create the names here. So I've got one that I labeled green room and then one on stage. And the idea behind that is effectively that when you join the meeting, you're going to land in here inside the green room, and then that's where you would essentially be prepped. Hopefully you have somebody there that can meet that guest and get them ready, do sound and video checks, and then you would reassign them after they're done to another breakout room where the actual show is going to happen. So I've labeled that on stage. You can give it whatever name you like. Also, you can pre-assign specific people so they end up in specific breakout rooms as well. So I've got a whole bunch of them in here as well. The other thing you're going to have to remember is after you do this on the Zoom backend, you will also have to, once you create the meeting, you will also need to click that button in the toolbar that says breakout rooms and then select open breakout rooms. So you have to actually open them up before people can actually join that. So you're going to want to make sure you do that well ahead of time. Make sure you show up early. I like to show up about an hour early before the meeting starts, just to make sure things are set up and established and working correctly.
Next. Excuse me. Next question.
Can't hear you, Bill. All right.
Yeah. No,
Danny Grizzle in Longview, Texas asks, is Apple orchestrating a disgusting comedy of errors with AI? This weekend, AI-enabled Siri navigation took me on an 80-mile wild goose chase in Houston, directing me to the Neptune Society in Houston when I clicked the link on Priceline to lodgings.
Jason Beish, have you experienced anything similar?
Dan, did you just add this question because you had to vent? No, Apple isn't doing anything differently with AI than they were the week before. You probably didn't use Apple Maps with or without AI because there is no such thing as without AI. It's either Apple Maps or it isn't the week before. What we need to know more about what exactly you were after and how exactly you did it in order to at least for me to comment on this. But no, they are not out for setting up your premature cremation and Priceline. Like, what happened, Andy?
That's funny. Premature. Courtney.
Yeah, Neptune Society, little people don't know they do offer lodging. Well, you can check in, but you can't check out. Anyway, the way you were misled, a lot of the voice assistants out there, including Amazon's Echo and Google Home, are now offering these AI-enabled where they connect rather than their previous method of handling queries. Now are agentic, and I have it on my A-Lady over here on at least two of them. The original one that I have in the kitchen doesn't do it. But they are a lot smarter. However, with Apple and Siri, the AI stands for artificial ignorance rather than artificial intelligence. And I find, and it's curious that my Echo now answers me in full sentences, which can be annoying, and gives me cute little answers like I ask her to turn something on, and she'll go, "Okay, boss," or "On it, Captain," things like that. And that's a good too. Cutesy for me. Hey, I'm working on it.
But think of how good you'd feel if they promote you from captain to lieutenant or something like that.
But the nice thing is you can ask them to do certain things that you could never ask them to do before, like turn on something at 6 o'clock tonight. Turn this on, and turn this on, and leave it on for 1 hour. And you can give it a command like that, and at least the Amazon version, which I've had to play with, can actually do that and set up an agentic thing to turn things on and off at a certain time just by asking it without having to go into an app and set up a routine or anything. So it's coming. Whether or not Apple has been able to figure it out and enable Siri to do it, that's something for you Apple aficionados to let me know if it's working.
They're all a little iffy at times. I was using Google Maps for some reason a couple of weeks ago, and I asked it a question about Lima, Ohio, and it mapped Lima, Peru, and these things there's a certain slop in all of it. So, Danny, I'm sorry you had to go through that. Next question.
This one's from Zach Stahlsmith in Chautauqua, New York. Follow-up to my Mimolive question, can I also send individual Zoom audio from Mimolive to my X32 via USB, or does that workflow only work over Dante?
Alexander, does it?
There's no limitations. So basically, you just set up an additional auxiliary bus, and you would select, so whatever audio interface is connected to that Mac, Mimolive will see that interface. It's just a matter of going into the drop-down menu. If you don't want to use Dante and you have the USB output on the X32 connected to the computer, it will see all of the channels on that USB interface, and then you just select the channels that you want to send out of. So it is absolutely possible.
Next question.
This one's from Paul Vall, who's in Austin, Texas. OD Royd H4, that's a weird name. Ultra is being talked up by YouTubers and podcasters as the Raspberry Pi killer, but would you lose compatibility with all the programs that run on RPi? I think it's impressive and low cost.
Odroid, yeah. Odroid probably. Well, look, here's my 2 cents on it, having dealt with none of this stuff. But the tinkerers and people who enjoy kind of programming their own stuff have been in love with Raspberry Pi for a long time. It's got a huge following, and it's incredibly capable because it is something you can do yourself. So the DIY mentality in programming and in hardware building, they've loved that forever. So now somebody comes out with a new one that is less expensive, potentially capable. I think there's going to be a portion of the Raspberry Pi community that is going to be interested and says, well, let's take a look at it, because they are at heart tinkerers and they love doing this. God bless them. But there's also going to be people who, exactly as you say, have programs that they've been building over the course of time or have small automation systems, and it works. It works on their existing Raspberry Pis, and the idea that you're going to pry those out and replace them with this, unless it's code compatible, I'm not sure that's going to happen. So I think it's cool, but we'll see. Courtney, what's your thought? You deal with these things.
Yeah, for years, Odroid, has had these. Basically, it's a mini computer competition to Raspberry Pi, but I think they have Intel. This is an Alder Lake Celeron, I think, that's in this one, in series. That has different extensions. And you can, I think, run Windows on some of these. They will also run Linux, which is, of course, what you run on your Raspberry Pi. So although it doesn't have all of the unique overlays that are written for Raspberry Pi, it is a little more, has a dual BIOS for outages, etc. That's interesting. So Odroid has been a more expensive version of the single board computer competition for Raspberry Pi. It has a little more ports on it, I think, and a little more accessibility to different operating systems, because I think it can run Windows, since I think it is Intel Celeron based with those particular Alder Lake and Jasper Lake CPUs built into it.
Cool. Well, Paul, give it a shot and let us know what you find, I guess. Next question.
Tony Mobley in Noonan, Georgia is asking, has the panel talked about Atlas, OpenAI web browser?
I haven't, but Jason Bass, have you?
I don't know, so let's do it.
I love this.
Pretty simple. ChatGPT Atlas is kind of a browser built on top of an AI, or an AI built on top of a browser, depending upon how you look at it. My quick take on it is that I guarantee it's going to be insanely useful, and it just makes my privacy socks roll up and down, sideways, backwards, forwards. That said, if you don't mind having absolutely everything, and I mean everything, every tick, every wince of the mouse, every scroll pause, being vacuumed up and being used to make the whole experience smarter, please, by all means, do so. That said, not for me.
Hey, we're friends. Where did you get privacy socks? I want privacy socks.
Oh, and keep in mind, I'm sure that there's some crazy prepper tactical site that will sell them to you, Bill. But in this case, like, at the end of the day, I'm sure it's cool. And is it cool enough for the juice to be worth the squeeze? I don't know.
I want a Faraday cage for my toes. I just want it. Courtney Gooden?
Are privacy socks the ones that have those individual things for?
Oh no! What have I done?
You can wear them in sandals, and so nobody can see your ugly toenails.
If you have one toenail fungus problem, it's not going to spread if you're wearing privacy socks. They're medicinal. I'm telling you.
I have not used Atlas, and maybe it's I'm not a ChatGPT subscriber, and I don't know if it takes if you're having to pay the monthly fee to be a paid user of GPT 3.5 or whatever it is, 5, 4, 5, whatever they're up to now. This is designed as a competitor to Chrome. I like Chrome, and I use Chrome in the Gemini. I have the Gemini mode turned on in Chrome, so it has the AI stuff. So it responds with the normal Google searches, and it'll respond with the AI answer first, and then you scroll down, and below the AI is the standard search results that Google Chrome presents. And I'm so tied into Chrome with all the plugins and all my passwords and all the great efficiencies that Chrome offers you, although it's bloated memory hog. I don't know if I could switch to a new browser unless it supports all of the same features, and it would import all my bookmarks, import all my password lists, import all the security that I have currently using in Chrome. I'd have to take a look at it, but I don't even know if it's available for me since I'm not a monthly subscriber.
I think I speak for everybody in the Office Hours community, Courtney, that we are incredibly grateful that you spend all that time inside there understanding the depth of Chrome and things like that, because it's your expertise is well valued here. Next question.
Paul Vahus in Austin, Texas asks, would the Office Hours Q&A format with Mukana work on a small town or metropolitan over-the-air radio station show with a YouTube stream?
Alexander Knight, dive in.
100% it would, and in fact, Mark Giuliani uses that on his radio shows, and it works really well for him. It's a shame he's not here to talk about it, but yes, why not?
Yeah, so the next time you see Mark Giuliani on the show, put a similar question in, and he can speak to it directly and individually. Next question.
Jason Beish in Albuquerque, New Mexico, who is not asking a question, but he seems to be making a statement for those who love superlatively cheap stuff.
Well, no, that's a teaser, Jason.
Yes, that's very much indeed a teaser. I saw this coming through the RSS when we went right before we went on the air, and I had to point it out.
Oh, it's wide.
Woot introduces big discounts on Samsung's best monitors. Now, best, no, it's not Samsung's best. It's the ones that Samsung can't get rid of. And surprise, surprise, they're all curved. At least a lot of them are curved. But there are some gems here. The one that popped out to me is the 43-inch M7 4K UHD display for $324, which is pretty good.
That's a decent price on it.
Yeah, and not bad at all. But as with all things Woot, you'll if you don't look at it now, the ones that are actually useful, of which I question at least most of these, they will be gone. I guess this one. Let me make sure that this is 4K. But yeah, that one too. So the Samsung 32-inch M8 4K. It's a smart TV. Okay, yeah, but $389 for a decent 4K display, not bad.
Welcome to the inventory closeout season just before the Christmas holidays, where everybody's trying to move boxes off their shelves to bring in the new stuff. This is a magical time of the year. Next question.
Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas. For a small facility, at what point does a dedicated NAS/SAN solution like Synology or Ubiquiti become a better investment for shared storage than using simple network drives or cloud sync services?
Both Jason and Courtney are going to help us out here. Jason?
Well, I'd say that the time you start asking a question like that would be the time that you definitely should be thinking about a NAS. If by shared storage, you mean simply using Windows or Mac OS to share things over the network, or plugging in an external hard drive and then sharing that over the network, I would say whenever you get congestion would be the first time. And most importantly, the redundancy. Don't forget about the redundancy. And then the third thing is that you also can use a NAS as the better and easier part of a 3-2-1 backup solution, because it can be tasked to, the minute you put a file in a certain folder, can be synced at any interval, at any speed, to multiple cloud providers simultaneously. So, for example, frequently asked, how do I move all my stuff from Dropbox to Google Drive? Well, you can use lots of expensive cloud solutions, or you can get a Synology NAS, synchronize Dropbox into one folder, synchronize Google Drive into the other folder, and then cut and paste. And although it won't be instantaneous, the Synology NAS will basically be doing the background work, and the next time you look at it, it'll be done.
Hey, if you value what we do here at Office Hours, there are a few ways you can help. You can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can volunteer at officehours.global/volunteer, become a part of the team that puts the show on. Or if you'd like, you can donate. We are a 501c3. That's officehours.global/donate. There's actually another way you can do it now. If you'd like to support us a little bit, you can buy the Office Hours baseball cap, which is a limited time availability. Check the website out right now. And, it's what the really cool kids are wearing. Next question.
Jack Cannon in Phoenix, Arizona asks, any recommendations for a road case for an Atem Mini Extreme Iso? I'm wanting to find a box that can be a stand and have a monitor embedded in it. I am often setting up on carts or folding tables and want a cleaner setup.
Hey, Jason, I just lost a screen. Can you call hands for just a second?
Yeah, I will be calling myself, and if anyone else does it, then I will promote. So I've been all over the country with this, and it is not a box or road case, but it is a part that ends up allowing this Atem Mini Extreme to be set and easy enough to use that it can be put in a Pelican case, assuming you've got, some padding in there. Let me go to 6 here real quick just to show you. This is a deck saver. These are made of the UK, I think. They make them for all sorts of equipment, and all it does is cover. But it's extremely robust plastic, and when you put it on the top of the Atem Mini Extreme, you're pretty much set. The other nice thing is, because of the way that it's been engineered, it fits perfectly on the bottom and it doesn't interfere with ventilation at all. So this is my go-to solution, along with a very simple rubber band, and away you go. That's the way that I would do it. I'm not sure if there is a specifically perfect Pelican case that would fit this, but I think you'd be much better off with something like this. Courtney, go ahead.
Courtney. Yeah, I just got back up, Jason. Thank you for backstopping me there.
Yeah, there are some cases. I was looking on Pelicans to see they have briefcase size. I don't think the Extreme would fit in their briefcase size cases, but there's the 1615 Air, which is a shallower briefcase. Not a briefcase, but it has rollers on it. And it has a big enough spot on the inside of you could bolt a flat screen, one of those portable 15-inch screens that has a USB input, video input into it on the inside of one of the lids here, and have room to put all your power supplies, dongles, and everything else on a layer down below the top foam layer where you would have your Mini Extreme in. And you have to have something with enough depth if you're going to keep things attached. If you're going to have a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put connectors. It violates the waterproofness of that case, but I'll put convenience plugs on the back, actually mount them in the back of the case, and then run short cables into the switcher inside so that you get there and you don't have any cables to plug in. You open it up, you plug in one power, you pull out the power cable, and then you can plug any additional monitors and stuff, and any of your signal routing can plug in the back of that case on the outside, so that you're not trying to mess with plugging HDMI cables into the back of the Mini Extreme each time and setting it up and taking it out. Now, getting fold-out legs for that is problematic. You'd probably be better off just to find some little folding table that you could send along separately, because I find that those cases that have fold-out legs on them, and I've seen several script supervisors that have their laptop built into one of those cases, and they have fold-out telescoping legs in the bottom, so that forms a little platform for them to stand and work with. And it's fairly light. You can move it around the set, and if you're standing all day, and have that to work for it. But the problem is when you ship that on a airline, if it's not small enough to hand carry and put in the overhead compartments, the legs are going to get knocked off the first time you send it somewhere. It's going to, whatever strap you have holding those legs down is going to get knocked loose, and you'll find it with now a 3-legged stand for your Extreme. But I'd look into the Pelican Airs, which are the lighter weight ones with the built-in wheels so you can drag it through the airport, and then go with something else for your stand to put it on.
Yeah, I just did a really quick web search on Atem Mini because I was interested. I think this is for the original thing, but look at some of the things that are out there. I mean, that's just obviously one of those Dascasal kind of cases that somebody's done a custom input for the Atem Mini. Now, this may not be for the Extreme ISO. You may need something a little wider, but I bet you these people have them for all the models. So you'll find something out there. Jack, thank you for the question. Next question.
Tony Mobley, Noonan, Georgia. I need advice for House of Worship storage. I have 2 external hard drives, 1 terabyte each. Should I delete services that are 2 years old and move them to drives? Running out of storage on my computer's HD.
Well, none of us have ever run out of storage on our computer's hard drives, so that's really unusual. I'm joking, of course. Jason Bache.
Oh, Tony, yes, 1,000 times yes. This is not safer because it's on your computer. That hard drive can fail just like any other drive. You should duplicate it. So whatever you're going to externalize, duplicate it. Put it on both drives. Put the same directory on both drives, and give one to the House of Worship. And if you find it collecting dust 6 months later, then maybe reconsider whether or not unless you are holding these personally because you want to watch them later, decide their archival value.
Courtney Gooden.
You know what I do, Tony, is I have a lot of these, a bunch of these cases for these NVMe drives, these SSDs that are USB 3, so they're faster. They're 5 gigabit and maybe 10 gigabit, depending upon which ones you get. External case, you just plop a NVMe high-speed SSD in there. And you can carry these with you in your pocket. So if you need to transport them between locations, this is handy. And you can get up to 4 terabytes or maybe even more these days on an NVMe full-length drive in there. They're portable. You don't have to carry around a power supply because they're powered off the USB port. And that way you can offload a lot of your storage onto something like that and transport it. It's not as cheap as putting it to an old, 3.5 inch, 10 terabyte spinning drive to archive it, which you could also do and get you what they call a toaster, which is one of those where you take a naked 3.5 inch drive and plug it into the top, kind of like you'd slide a slice of bread into a toaster. And then it connects over USB or Thunderbolt if you get one of those to your computer. And then you can offload everything onto those drives and then unplug that drive out of that interface and plug a new one in. And then put the drive on the shelf. That's a typical way we have of archiving and categorizing and storing media for later use, later access, but not necessarily available online backup.
Well, thank you all for your questions today. That's the end of another show for us. We truly appreciate everybody who makes this possible every day, and that includes our 3 major constituency. First and foremost, our producers, those of you who ask the questions and vote the questions up and down. Without you, this show just does not exist. And that is also true of our amazing panelists, people who come in every day, sit for an hour, and express all of the accumulated knowledge that they've gained through years and years of practical on-set and on-scene work. This show wouldn't be the same without our panelists, so thank you, each and every one of you. And to our amazing back-end crew, the people that you don't see. You see a little subset of the names that scrolls at the bottom of the show every day, but you don't see the legion of people who are quietly behind the scenes all over the world, literally, touching things that are making this show happen, both in real time and in the planning stages and in the organizational stages, and just really making everything work and making life really enjoyable for all of us who work on the show, because it is a community, and it's an exceptional community. Our Talat traversal stats today, if you were to go around and get this expertise, you would have traveled 24,000 miles. That is 39,000 kilometers, 191 million U.S. standard bananas for scale. Thank you very much for being with us today. I appreciate it. And we are going to see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.
They need to make those plastic bananas with little LCD panels on them that turn brown after a while.
I'm working on it right now. Yeah, let me get a little scrolling marquee in here that just says for scale.
I have some brown on mine. Look at that. It's got.
All you really need is like one of these practical. Not set designers, prop designers that can like weather anything with like no more than a sponge, a paintbrush, and like some stale mascara.
No, I want an artiste who has the little tiny spray painters. Just very carefully.
Airbrushing like.
Yeah, exactly.
It is older now, yes.
Yes. I'm not sure this is exactly what I wanted, but we'll see.
Oh, it is perfect.
Live with it a week and talk to me.
Would you like a French postcard on your banana? Yes.
I have signed it on the stem. Do not remove the stem.
Anyway.